Happy Monday, Musicals with Cheese fans. How are you doing? I can't hear you anyway, so don't bother answering. What you're getting here is a sneak preview at what our patrons usually get. It is our first episode of our Fosse Verdon coverage. This covers the first episode of Fosse Verdon, and if you want to see our reaction to every other episode, just join us on Patreon at the $5 level and you can hear the entire series. As well as our coverage on things like The Muppets, Glee the first season, and we just started our recap of Gallivant. So you get to hear that one live with us. But enjoy this first episode of our Fosse Verdon coverage, and if you want more, come join us on Patreon. We've got a real episode coming to you this week, but enjoy this little bonus. Alright, enjoy! Boom, boom, Fosse!
You know, that jazz. Oh, what?
We're talking about Fosse Verdon, guys. This is overdue, and it's all Andrew's fault.
What?
Andrew just hates giving you guys things because he hates you patrons so much.
It's really Glee's fault, though, because we had Glee stuff prepared and then we didn't do it.
Well, yeah, I got really sad. I stand by that choice. I think we made the right call there.
Ooh, Fosse.
So now we're talking about Fosse Verdon, and for those of you disappointed about that, hey, it's only 8 episodes long. It's not like we're going to do that. Technically, it's going to be 9 weeks, though, because we're ending this by Musicals with Cheese episode, a Musicals with Cheese bonus episode on All That Jazz, just to finalize the Fosse Verdon. That is patron only. Patron only. Y'all get that for yourselves.
Fosse is owned by our patrons.
Yes. Except for the Pippin episode, which is coming up soon.
And we'll probably do Sweet Charity, and we'll probably do Cabaret. And
Cabaret, that takes a lot of work is the thing. Cabaret is like, I'd make you watch the original Broadway cast, like with Joel Grey. Then I'd make you watch the movie. Then I'd make you watch the new Alan Cumming version. So that's a lot for you to watch.
I just want to see some Nazis, bro.
What about abortions?
Nazi abortions?
Is
there any way we can prove the babies would have been Nazis, and then we can pretend we're aborting Nazis?
We could. You know what? I'm in.
Ooh, yes!
You had to sell me. It was a hard sell, but I got there.
It wasn't that hard of a sell.
But Andrew, before you watched this very first episode, what was your relationship? Like, did you know about Bob Fosse, like, as a name? And if you did, what did that name mean to you?
I watched All That Jazz with the commentary on one time.
That's it?
That's it. And Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. That's it.
Just those two.
Literally, you didn't see any parodies. You didn't, like, have, like, people say, oh, like, that's the Fosse moves and all that.
No. Honestly, I didn't know this show was going to be about him because every time you said it, I thought you were saying Foxy. So I thought it was like Fosse Verdon. And I was like, who's Verdon?
Who's Foxy?
I guess Verdon is very foxy. I don't know who that is, but yeah.
But this show is brought to us by Thomas Kail, the director of Hamilton, who is now, I think, like the father of Michelle Williams' child, which is pretty weird, but whatever.
Nice.
And they met on this show, so good for them, I guess.
They did a good thing. No abortion. No Nazi abortion.
No, but apparently I think Michelle Williams actually did have an abortion, and she, like, mentioned it in an acceptance speech, and then everyone's like, you baby killer!
Well, I guess she did 2 good things then. No abortion and an abortion.
Yeah. Fosse Verdon tells the story of the romantic and creative partnership between Bob Fosse and Gwen Verdon. Fosse was a filmmaker and one of theater's most influential choreographers and directors. Verdon was a critically acclaimed actress and Broadway dancer who won 4 Tonys. The story of the entire series unfolds through back-and-forth flashes the couple's relationship through the years. It includes reversals of power and status as well as the context that let it all happen. It also presents Fosse and Verdon's contribution to the entertainment industry, despite their personal problems. Now, Andrew, we're talking about the very first episode, the pilot, so to say. I want you to tell me what happens in it, from your point of view.
Okay, well, I think the majority of this one is just about him filming Sweet Charity and the absolute disaster it is, and then him getting, or attempting to get, I think he does get it in this episode, right? The slot on Cabaret.
I mean, yes. I mean,
directing.
He directs it and starts directing during it.
Yes.
And from all that, like, let's talk about that opening scene where he's directing the opening number to Sweet Charity, the "Hey Big Spender" number.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone sum up what it means to make a movie or what it looks like.
Yeah, this is what it looks like when you waste $20 million. Was it $40 million?
Yeah.
How much money was this? $40 million?
A lot of money.
This is what's going through someone's head when they waste that much money. Why are they leaning on the side? Well,
they each have a story, Andrew.
They all have a story. I like the dynamic between Fosse and Verdon. What is Bobby and what's her name? Gwen. I like the dynamic there quite a bit. And I think that's going to be the strongest part of the show going forwards, like by far. Mm-hmm. What do you think of the music numbers?
I think that they went through painstaking attempts to recreate these specific, like, it is shocking how much they're similar. That's so much that like little changes freak me out.
I was like trying to figure out if I should have watched those shows first before we did this, or those movies first. Pardon me.
The thing is,
should I have seen it?
They don't spend much time on Sweet Charity or Cabaret. The ones that they really like dive deep into are Pippin, Chicago, and All That Jazz, which are the three that you have seen. So I feel like you're in a good position to get most of this. Where after and Damn Yankees, which I wish we had seen and we were supposed to do an episode about a long time ago, but it didn't come together. But we'll do that one day. That would make a really good episode. But that's in the next episode.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You're giving away the behind the scenes that we've already watched the first 2 episodes.
I mean, we do that for how we record. We gave it away in Glee. We do 2 episodes like recorded in one time, so I don't have to look at your ugly mug every day.
Every week.
Exactly. Did you catch the company reference where it felt like it came right out of your mouth?
Yeah, it was like, oh, that's a pretty accurate description of that show.
It's a man dealing with like a marriage and stuff. Oh, it sounds like a bestseller. I want you to talk about the characterization of Bob Fosse.
Sure.
Because you texted me in the middle of it. It's like, I don't think that any human is like this.
Yeah, so I think it's even more so in the second episode, but he has these traits in the first episode too. He's very, very awkward in like he talks softly most of the time and he doesn't say all that much. I'm trying to describe exactly how it is. You get what I'm saying though.
I get what you're saying. I've never seen anyone
act that way where you're like in a conversation with somebody and you're just kind of like, and then say something really out of left field, kind of as the next thing you say.
Let's try it. You be Bob Fosse, and I want to see what you mean. Like,
I don't know if I can do it, but I'll try.
Bobby, how can we set up the lights for this next shot? I'm really worried about it.
I don't think we need lights.
You haven't made me wheeze like that in a long time. Jesus. I don't. But that's about accurate, is the thing. I mean, compare this, because you've seen All That Jazz, or at least you've watched All That Jazz with the commentary on.
Yeah.
Because I sent you a bad file.
You sent me the file with the commentary on, except for I could have shut it off, but...
You could have texted me to be like, hey...
I was like, why does he want me to watch it with the commentary on? That's weird.
That seems like something you text someone about and be like, oh, this is how you fix it. And then, you just sat through it with the commentary.
I didn't want to bother you, and there was some pretty interesting stuff.
Yes. But from the characterization of Bob Fosse's self-insert character and All That Jazz compared to Sam Rockwell's performance here, like, how do they rank among each other?
There's really no difference. They kind of feel like the same character. I don't know. They feel very similar to me.
The thing is, Roy Schneider's performance of Bob Fosse, or I think his name was Joe Gideon in the movie, but he's basically playing Bob Fosse. Even when he showed up at Bob Fosse's funeral, it's like, his ghost is standing right there. Yeah, that was what someone remarked. And he's very confident, a lot more like, oh, I don't care. Like, he doesn't have that, like, navel gazing that Sam Rockwell puts into there. He has this very high confidence side, and you understand why he's more of a womanizer, where Sam Rockwell kind of feels like he can't function as a human in a different way than Roy Schneider's performance. Okay,
so I think that's kind of almost because Bob Bob wrote himself in all that jazz, and he probably sees himself as that really confident womanizer type.
But he was, though. He fucks so many women. So many women.
But I think when other people are looking from the outside, you can kind of see that, like, no one is actually this confident, and no one is actually this, like, weird, and I feel like it's an act of sorts, because he's so self-conscious that he has to stand out in some way.
I mean, that is fair as well. All right, let me compare those two performances, because, like, in here, they both kind of given moments to shine. But Sam Rockwell's performance, he's not bringing as much to the table as Michelle Williams is as Gwen Verdon. When I look at Sam Rockwell, he is Sam Rockwell in a bald cap. When I look at Michelle Williams, she has become Gwen Verdon. I no longer see Michelle Williams anymore. She did such a good job just dissolving into that role. And have you seen photos of the real Gwen Verdon?
I looked some up. I was doing a bit of research while I was watching the show to kind of like sort of understand better what they're trying to do. So I saw a few pictures, not like a crazy amount though.
But I think it's pretty uncanny how much alike they look.
They do look very, very alike. Although a lot of that's probably, costumes, makeup, that kind of stuff.
I think it's mostly just the hairstyle, but they also very much have just similar facial structures. But she nails it with the voice, especially when she's performing. Like, it is super effective, and we don't get much performances from her in this one, because she's kind of behind the scenes and working with her daughter at home.
This first episode is much more about Bob, whereas I think, and I don't know if later episodes will also be like this, but the second episode is more about Gwen.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it breaks down. Let's talk very briefly about Fosse's womanizing ways and how it is shown in the show.
I feel like we should save some of that for the next episode, because that's where this really happens.
But the thing is, this episode shows us in a vacuum. Like, I'm very interested in your idea, where the only person, Bob, in this world that we're shown ever was married to, or that we should care about, is Gwen, and that the only woman that we've ever seen him, like, cheat on her with, and it could be the first, it could be the 50th, is this, I think, costume designer on the cabaret set, like that. Oh, no, translator.
Yeah, but that's in the second episode.
I'm pretty sure it was in this one, because this one ends with Gwen showing up and with the gorilla suit and knocking on the door.
Oh, no, you're right. The cheating happens here, but the fallout's the next episode.
Yes, the fallout is the next episode. But I want your opinions on, what was your opinion on, would this girl actually be interested in this very famous man married to a very famous woman, and, how that all plays out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know about his mannerisms. I think he's kind of predatory, just a bit. Just the way he speaks to them, and he sort of uses his position as an in, and you see that a bit more in the second episode. He doesn't seem like a great guy.
No. And the question is, but he was brilliant, and that was his one vice, and he needed, it was one of 50 vices, but he needed an outlet and all that. And I hate that, because
brilliant people are all evil, and you just have to forgive them because they're geniuses.
And at least in this episode, it appears consensual. Well, and I feel like that was a big, caveat, even in the book Fosse, there was all the women wanted to do this, so let's be clear here. He didn't force them into it, but then again, when you're in a position of power...
Let's be clear. Having a position of power and using it over women is in no way
using it over anyone, whether you be gay, straight, or whatever.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying women specifically. I mean, he obviously is using it over women, though. So, on some level, it probably... Well, I don't even know if I can say probably, because I don't really know the details, but sure, I'll say probably was consensual.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, and there was moments where he came on too strong, where it was not reciprocated, and the problem there is they would do worse in the show, and he would not treat them as well because of that.
Yeah.
That is where you get to big issues, and we don't find that out so much later in this TV show, but you find it out quite often in the book that this is based on.
Yeah, and I'm sure he doesn't seem too hesitant to kick people out of his shows, so I'm sure he would do that sometimes as well.
So let's talk about the musical numbers within this episode, because we have the opening number, Sweet Charity, where they're directing the big spender number, which is A+. Like, they recreated the scene brilliantly, and just the way that they edit it, where it shows how they kind of work as this relatively unhealthy machine between the two of them. I think that's great. Then we have the Mayan hair scene, where he's choreographing and having all these issues and like trying to figure out how to stage it with the choreography and then how to shoot it with the staging. I that scene is perfect in its own way. Like, and I like that they don't. It's
interesting. They just keep doing the same number over and over again, which is interesting
because it's accurate.
Yeah, it's cool to see that. I think, which is somewhat interesting for us covering it. None of the music is non-diegetic, is that right?
Yeah, that'd be non-diegetic. It's all diegetic.
All the music is taking place in the show, at least so far, unless, I don't know, do you count like flashbacks as being non-diegetic? I don't think
like, what do you mean?
That. Like when you flash back to Damn Yankees and play it over a different scene happening, but I don't know.
No, nothing like that. There are songs in the show that are non-diegetic, though, when he gets deeper into his drugs and all that.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, and then there's like full musical numbers, and it gets real intense, and this show dives into surrealism a bit.
They really do all that jazz.
They do, except, different.
This All That Jazz, the TV show. It really has the same tone, though. Like, they didn't change anything tonally from All That Jazz. And I think that it's intentional, because they're probably trying to get some of the fans, replicate the style, get the fans of that, because it's the same subject matter.
But you know me, All That Jazz is my favorite film of all time, and I think that this does a very good job replicating a lot of the stylistic choices that Bob Fosse made as a film director.
Yeah, I mean, in the first scene, I didn't even know what this was about, because I'm a dummy who doesn't like research anything before we start watching it.
I don't watch musicals, Jess.
Yeah, so literally I didn't know what it was about, but in like the first scene I was like, oh, this is like All That Jazz. It's like he walks out with a cigarette in his mouth and it's like 70s musical shit happening, and it's like, okay, this is All That Jazz.
But name me any other film aside from that one and any other show aside from this one that dives equally as deep into the musical theater world as it does in the filmmaking, which is just kind of my chocolate and peanut butter mixed together.
I don't know, maybe that like Walt Disney movie. I didn't watch it.
The Mary Poppins Walt Disney movie?
Yeah, the Mary Poppins one. I didn't watch it, so maybe that one.
I remember that was the most frustrating film watching experience I had, because the Walt Disney shit is so entertaining. Then it will cut to like P.L. Travers' childhood in Australia, and you're like, I'm bored.
Who cares?
A little bit.
I can't wait to watch that Winnie the Pooh movie, but it's about the actual Christopher Robin.
What?
Yeah, there's a Winnie the Pooh movie about the real Christopher Robin.
Not the one with the talking animals, like the other one?
The real Christopher Robin. It's about that guy.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, and it's about how everyone makes fun of him because he's Christopher Robin.
Well, the kid, J.M. Barrie wrote Peter Pan about this group of boys that he met in the park, and then he would eventually become the father of because he married their mom.
Yeah.
And he just gave all the Lost Boys in Peter Pan their names, and then one of the boys was named Peter, and yeah, that kid eventually threw himself in front of a fucking subway train because he was sick of that shit.
That's not funny at all, but it's hilarious.
Oh my God. But yeah, that don't do that to people. Don't be like, and this is him in real life.
Okay, don't do that to people. Even if you're writing something that you don't think will ever be popular, if you're gonna try to sell it, you never know what's gonna happen. Don't name your characters
names
after real people. Come on.
I mean, I do it all the time because sometimes I just go through my friends list and throw them into my scripts. But I would never publicly be like, and this is based off my buddy Andrew, Andrew DeWolf, who lives in Albany, New York.
Do that to your enemies.
Yes.
Name all your characters after your enemies.
Name all your characters Rob.
Yes. Rob. And Brent.
No, we love Brent. Don't do that.
Brent, you're now the main character of the Wright Brothers musical. I'm sorry.
We cut out the Wright Brothers. All about Brent.
We're going to name one of them Brent and the other one Black.
The thing is, I know he won't listen to this, so it's like... Whatever.
You have anything else to say about episode 1 here? I feel like we haven't even talked about the episode.
Oh, we talked about it a little bit. I wish you had
It's a pilot.
Yeah. I wish you had seen Cabaret a bit, because I wanted to know if you agree with the gorilla discussion.
Okay, I don't know what it's about, but from what I heard, and I absolutely agree with this joke on top of a joke premise. People do this all the time. They're like, we're telling a joke, but like, let's like make it so like there's more than one joke. Yeah, and it's like, okay, but that ruins the joke. You know, like, you don't have to have the person telling the joke wearing googly eyeglasses. That doesn't improve your joke at all. You know, like...
Tell that to Carrot Top, my friend.
Carrot Top's awful.
He seems like a really nice guy, though, I will admit.
I'm
Carrot
sure
Top
he
seems
is.
Like a really
I'm sure
cool
he
dude.
is. And he looks kind of like me, if you, like, made me look like Carrot Top.
No, guys. Patrons, tell us who you think Andrew actually looks like, because it's not Carrot Top.
It might be Bozo the Clown.
That's not true. It might be Pogo the Clown.
Oh, God. Isn't that what's his name?
Yes, it is. John Wayne Gacy.
Good. I think this is a good place to leave off so we can hit the second episode, because I have more to say on the second episode.
I know, but one more thing I wanted to bring up. The most far-fetched thing in this episode is by far the thing that is, like, even shocked me as I read the book, and I was like, oh, where his wife flies all the way to fucking Munich or wherever they were filming to help out.
And then flies back, yeah.
And then she flies back to New York to get the fucking gorilla suit, and then she comes back and finds him cheating on her. That sounds like a ridiculous
miserable weekend.
That sounds like a ridiculously, like soap opera drama thing, but that's literally what happened in real life.
How did he not know that she was going to be coming back?
He didn't care is the thing. It later becomes clear, both in the book and in the novel, that he has a horrible sex addiction.
Is he a sex addict or is he a sociopath?
He might be both.
Because being addicted to sex and not giving a fuck if your spouse finds out that you're fucking other people are two very different things.
Well, there's also that, and he would beg, like, the thing is, it was only one-sided, so it becomes more of an issue when he's with Annette, oh god, did I forget her name already? I want to say Annette Funicelli, but I know that's not her name. Who did Margaret Qualley play? Anne Reinking. I'm such a fucking idiot. Anne Reinking, because she's a much younger woman. So she's like, well, if you can fuck whoever you want, can't I fuck whoever you want? No, you stay with me. You're mine, but I get to do whatever the fuck I want. And that's where the sociopath side. It's one thing to want to be in an open relationship. Two consenting adults can do that as much as they want. That's cool. And I've known people that make that work.
That's the thing. Just sleeping around and then after the fact saying, oh, I thought it was an open relationship. Like, that's not an open relationship.
And later they justify... we'll talk about this when we get to the bottle episode that they have in here.
Oh boy. I think this is all for this episode. We're going to continue.
All right, guys.
Next week.
We'll see you next time on our Fosse Verdon podcast.
We're about to get very controversial, by the way. You got to stay tuned.
Yeah, we're going to say some shit.
I'm gonna...
Don't. All right, we'll see you next time on
episode.
Musicals with Cheese and whatever the show is. Bye, patrons.
This is Patrons with Cheese, actually.
Patrons? Fuck. Yeah, okay. This is Patrons with Cheese. We'll talk about whatever the fuck we...
I have to do all the branding around here. Jess doesn't put in any effort.
We'll see you next time, guys.